Alright, hey, we're back. So, Super Squirrel left, and now we're left with Angry Bird. And Angry Bird is here, and he believes in you. So, he may be a little angry, but he's here to say you can do it. So, the first thing we're going to look at is these different function operations. So, f of x is going to be x plus 8. G of x is 2x squared, and h of x is 2x plus 5. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is f plus g. So f plus g. So we're going to take x plus 8 and add it to 2x squared. Well, we don't have a value for x squared here, so we're just going to put a 0 in its spot. And we can put zeros here in this spot as placeholders. Do you have to put the zeros? No, you don't, but just for yourself if you want to. So our answer for the first one will be 2x squared plus x plus 8. Alright, our next one is f of x minus g of x. Now, you'll notice that the numbers to my questions will be a little different than yours, but the questions will be the same. So don't get confused if you're like, she's on number 6 and I'm on 22. So it's basically the same thing. Alright, so we're going to take x plus 8 and subtract it from 2x squared. Now I'm going to put zeros for my placeholders. And this is the case where you would do your leave change. So we're going to leave the top the same, change the minus to a plus, and change all my positives to negatives. So now I have 0 plus negative 2, which is negative 2x squared, x plus a negative 0, which is just x, and 8 plus a negative 0, which is just 8. Alright, the next one is going to be g of x minus f of x. So it's basically backwards of what we just did. So the 2x squared is going to come first, minus the x plus 8. So I'm going to put zeros for placeholders. Remember, you don't have to do this, but you can do this to help you. So then we have leave the top, change the minus to a plus, and make everything that's positive negative in the bottom. So now it's 2x squared plus a negative 0, which is 2x squared, 0 plus a negative x, which is negative x, and then 0 plus a negative 8, which is a negative 8. So look at my colors to see where you do the leave change, so you don't make a mistake of forgetting to do that. Alright, now we have f of x and f of x, which means we are just doubling our x plus 8. So x plus 8 plus x plus 8. We don't need any placeholders, no zeros, no leave change. And we're left with 2x plus 16. Now your review said state the domain and range. You only have to state the domain and range for division. So I hope that you guys didn't think that you had to do it for every question. Alright, the next one is f of x plus g of x. Times. So f of x is x plus 8 times 2x squared. Now, since 2x squared is not a binomial, I am not going to FOIL. Instead, I am going to distribute. I'm going to distribute the 2x squared to x and the 2x squared to 8. Distribute means to give out. So I'm going to give out the 2x squared to the x and to the 8. If I were to write it out, it would be x times 2x squared plus 8 times 2x squared. Notice that in both cases the squared stayed on the inside. So then my final answer would be 2x, and since there are 2 and 1 x's here, that's 3, so 2x to the third, and 8 times 2 is 16x squared. Okay, the last one in this section is f of x divided by g of x. So f of x is x plus 8 divided by 2x squared. That is my answer. But just know that for division, you're not allowed to have 0 in the denominator. So you should always set your denominator equal to 0. In this case, we're going to divide by 2. And we're left with x squared equals 0, taking the square root and x equals 0. That means my domain is going to be all real numbers except x equals 0. That means my domain can be any number except 0. And remember, you can also write it in the symbolic form of x slash x can't equal 0. Alright, we're back. And look, it's Angry Bird. And Angry Bird says, I'm hungry. If you understand this, I can go eat. So hopefully you can watch this and understand what I'm doing so Angry Bird can finally go get something to eat. Alright, so the next one says f of x over h of x. So f of x is x plus 8. H of x is 2x plus 5. Just getting all the colors together so you know which ones you should be looking at. Alright, so x plus 8 over 2x plus 5 is the answer. But you know that we need a domain whenever we're dealing with division. So we set our 2x plus 5 equal to 0. Do a two-step equation by subtracting 5. And dividing by 2. So that means that x is equal to 5 over 2 negative or negative 2.5. So your domain would be all real numbers except x equals negative 5 over 2. Or you can use the symbol of x slash x cannot equal negative 5 over 2. I prefer that you do not use a decimal. But if you have to, make sure it's a clean decimal like this one, where you don't have a lot of numbers. Alright, f of g of x. Well, we know that f is x plus 8, and we know that g of x is 2x squared. So that means that it'll be the f of 2x squared. Oh, it's a different question, is it? Oh, no, wait. Okay, so then you're going to take the g and put it in for everywhere you see the letter x here. So I want to replace this x with 2x squared. So that means that I'm going to erase everywhere that I see an x and replace that with 2x squared. So that means the f of 2x squared would be 2x squared with the squared staying inside plus 8. No longer is this an x, but it's 2x squared. Since I don't have anything on the outside to distribute, I'm not multiplying these two together because there's a plus. My answer will be 2x squared plus 8. Alright, your next question said h of g of x. So h was 2x plus 5, and g of x was 2x squared. So that means that we're going to eliminate our 2x squared and replace it So we're going to eliminate our 2x and replace it with 2x squared. So the h of 2x squared so remember there was a 2 in the front, would be 2, because that stands for 2x, which is 2x squared, keeping the squared inside, plus 5. So no longer do we have that 2x, now it's just 2 times this piece. So we can multiply and make that 4x squared. Remember, we're not going to square anything else. We're not doing anything with the square, we're just multiplying the coefficients. And now we can bring that plus 5 down. And that's our answer. Alright, your next one was g of h of x. Remember, my review sheet's a little different than yours, so I might be missing some stuff. So g of h of x would mean that my g function is 2x squared. My h function is 2x plus 5. So everywhere that I see the letter x, I'm going to erase it, and I'm going to replace it with 2x plus 5. So 2x plus 5 would go in here. Well, that pretty much means that the 2 moves here, and I'll be doing some FOIL or box method. So the g of 2x plus 5 would be 2 times 2x plus 5, so that replaces x squared. Now remember, when you see a squared on the outside, that means write it twice. So we're going to FOIL. Because you guys love the box method so much, I will box it. So 2x, and you only do the box method when there's a power on the outside. So for the first box, I have 2x times 2x, that's 4x, and there's 2 x's there, so squared. 2 times 5 is 10 with an x. 5 times 2 is 10 with an x. And 5 times 5 is 25. Look for the like terms, and in this case, these are like terms. Nothing else is a like term, so I'm going to add these two together. So my final answer will be 4x squared plus 20x plus 25. Now don't forget, you had a 2 in the front of all that. So your final answer would be 8x squared plus 40x plus 50. And I got that because I multiplied everything by 2. Alright, Angry Bird is wondering if you guys are still there, if you're still awake. So this section is evaluating, and when we evaluate our numbers, we're basically taking the value that's inside of your parentheses and applying them to the problem. So you'll notice here that we have some extra problems to the right. You don't have to worry about these because we're not going to ask you to evaluate regular numbers. So I'm just going to move this away from my flip chart. But yours said f of g of 3, g of h of negative 4, and f of g of negative 1. Now I changed this. I know your papers don't have bars on them, but I want you to put bars around your x plus 4 because I want you guys to get used to working with absolute value. On your last test, the majority of you got that absolute value question wrong. So I'm going to show you how to work it out now, and really pay attention so that if you were to happen to see a question like that, you won't make the same mistakes that you made on the first test. Alright, so f of g of 3. So basically we're finding the f of g of 3. Well, the g function is x plus 4. So inside the parentheses, instead of putting x plus 4, I'm going to put 3 plus 4 with bars around it, because that really means, this 3 really means that you're replacing 3 for x. So everywhere you see a letter x here, you should be putting a 3 in its place for that question. Well, that means that we're looking for the f of the absolute value of 7. Well, remember, absolute value means distance from 0. So the absolute value of 7 is going to be 7, because 7 is 7 units away from 0. So now we are actually looking for the f of 7. So now we're going to take our 7 and replace it for x into our f function. So I'm going to take 3x, instead of having x, I have 7. So 3x squared, now it's 3 times 7 squared minus 6. Remember, do PEMDAS, so we're going to do the exponent first, which is 49. And 3 times 49 minus 6 altogether is 141. So for these sections, we are looking for a whole number. Okay, so I'm just going to draw the bars here so that you don't think that it's an 11 or something like that. Alright, our next question says g of h of negative 4. So the first thing you want to do, it says the h of negative 4. So I'm going to replace x here with negative 4. Well, negative 4 squared is 16. And then I placed a negative back in front of there. And negative 16 plus 1 is negative 15. So now I need to find the g of negative 15. So now for this question, I'm going to replace x with negative 15. So the g of negative 15 means replace x with negative 15. So this should be negative 15 plus 4, which equals the absolute value of negative 11. Remember, again, absolute value means distance from 0. So that means that negative 11 is still 11 units away from 0, but to the left. So it will be 11. So your absolute value answers are always positive, no matter what's inside. So the answer to that question will be 11. I know it's different from your paper, but I wanted to practice the absolute values. Alright, the last one in this section, because we're going to skip 36. Is f of g of 1. So what we want to do is go back to our g function and replace it with negative 1. So we're going to have the f of negative 1 plus 4. Remember, this is absolute value. So that means everything inside here we're going to work out. So negative 1 plus 4 is actually equal to the absolute value of 3. So the absolute value of 3 is still just going to be 3. So negative 1 plus 4 is 3. Absolute value of 3 is 3. So now the f of 3, that means we're going to replace in our first one replace x with 3. So now we have 3 parentheses, 3 squared on the outside minus 6, because you're replacing x in here. So do PEMDAS, 3 squared is equal to 9. So 3 times 9 is 27, minus 6 is 21. Alright, I'm going to skip number 36 because it's a lot like what we did above with 29, 30, 31, and 32. So I'm going to skip that one. So just ignore that. And let's move right on to the end of this, which is working out inverse.